the best ways to see what I do. I'm not a trained filmmaker. I I learned the trade as I was growing up.
So cool. I'll just play the first trailer. Just hold on. Technology, you know.
Cái kain hoan kira I elop ke hoana ua. Ngora kaire sa kaisa. Insti tsuge kangu hia ke ikuna. Having ams en am wa kaidare. Ida dance di kaubata.
You know, there is a church where the Germans said people should come to the church and we will pray. And my people closed their eyes to pray. But they never said that last amen. Because the moment they closed their eyes, they were all shot in that church. Even if I pray, I don't close my eyes. They brought the Christianity, they brought all these churches, but today they also have the land.
%80 of my people were wiped off the face of my motherland on a premeditated basis after an officially proclaimed execution order was issued.
The Germans, they murdered and they killed my people. And the only reason why they killed and murdered my people was because of land.
So yeah, I mean that's a really dark film about a genocide that no one really talks about. I mean, in Africa, all the time and stuff. It's quite really sidelined most of the time in dialogues and stuff. So I mean, I think let's start from the beginning of you making films and stuff. You're self-taught, right? So how did you get into it in the first place?
Sometimes self-taught is it could be misleading. Obviously, you pick up skills from other people. You get advice from other people. You shadow other people, but eventually the responsibility is still yours to learn as much as you can because people don't really sit you down and show you how one, two, and three are done, but you just have to open your eyes and be there. I wanted to be a filmmaker. In fact, before I get into it, let me thank you and the Hive for an invitation. Um, I'm very pleased. I'm happy to be here. Uh, I hardly do a lot of these conversation, um, especially at home. But a space where we could share ideas because, as you said, my background has always been about how I learned was the exchange of information and knowledge, and that's why I appreciate this. Um, so I really wanted to be a radio talk show host, uh, but I was told very young that I was not articulate enough to be a talk show host. So that dream kind of fell off. So as I grow up, I said, "Oh wow, there's actually a television thing where I can share my opinions and my position and perspective on issues and things without talking." or without writing. I didn't know I had to write then. And then I went into television, and how I started uh, doing inserts. I was part of a collective called the Soweto Community TV Initiative, and we started doing inserts, just doing inserts. There weren't a platform to play them afterwards. It was just doing them so that you have a product that you can look at it and try. And I mean, there wasn't internet at that time. I think um, I just gave out my age. Shit, okay. But there wasn't an internet at that time. And so we just were doing screenings in the hood, and people would see the inserts we've done. But what was important, which I learned earlier on, is that how excited people were to see themselves on screen, because you shoot it in your street and then you show it in your street. Everybody knows each other and they start talking about each other. Ah, did you see that one? Ah, this one. And then they start having a conversation amongst themselves, who said what's important and who didn't say what's important. And realizing the excitement. To cut a long story short, it encouraged us, and particularly me, to continue.
Cool. I mean, if you have questions, ask, guys. You know, I don't really have many questions. Okay, there's already a question. Tebo. Yeah. Okay.
Documentaries sometimes they are often referred as passion projects. What inspired you to do this documentary?
Yeah. So this documentary in particular, in fact, maybe let me start from a general answer that um, yes, they are passion projects. Yes and no. Yes, because a lot of times you don't have the money upfront to do them, and so it must be something that you really feel passionate about. I mean, the subject matter, that is. And no, because uh, it's not just passion that's needed, it's also the importance of the documentary. Uh, that is, and I mean, I'll touch on it later. That is also important. Uh, and that can determine how commercial viable it becomes. So what could be a passionate project could actually be a very worthwhile commercial project.
Okay, cool. No, thank you.
I mean, I remember we had a conversation about this film last year. Yeah, it was last year. At the Rubu Amapiko Film Festival, about the cost of making this film and how you guys were really struggling. It took 5 years to make this film, right?
Yeah.
To make this documentary and stuff. I mean, you could break down how did you finance, because this particular project is both self-funded, but also there is some help in the area in there.
That's true. So, I mean, in your introduction, you said you were talking about this film and in relation to what's happening at the moment in the country and what has been happening for a number of years, the xenophobic attack. Uh, so it's a very, maybe let me start by having a general comment. It's very disturbing how violent we have become as a people. Um, but it's particularly concerning how violent we have become against each other. And that hurts a lot. And then it raises a question, as artists, as society, as a people, what is our role in all of that? Beyond being dope, beyond being famous, beyond being traveling around the world and being called award winners, what is our role? We tend to be called visionaries because we are artists. We somehow have the ability of heightened sense and vision. We can see ahead of time. We can see things that others can't see. Uh, Xhosas or Zulus have got, I think it's Xhosas have got this thing of Sizinyanya. Who's Xhosa? izinyanya yini in English. Yeah, we almost like have a bad spirits of ancestors in us. So somehow have powers. And what do we do with those powers? Beyond being dope, what do we do with them? What is our observation of a society we live in? And what is our position? And where would we like our society to be? That's such an important question to me as a filmmaker, because that's what influences who I am and what I do. The dopeness comes in the craft, in what you do and how you put it together. But what influences that? It has to be a position, it has to be something that, a perspective, something that you really feel strong about. And we cannot stand by and not reflect what is happening or the ills that are happening in our society. And I'm not at all trying to suggest that we are clean. We have our own faults as people, but we still have a responsibility to do certain things. So, back to this film, what influenced it is that I saw a dress, and somebody was telling me, oh, this is a Herero traditional dress. And I looked at the dress and I said, oh, well, the dress looks very European. It can't be traditional African Herero dress. And they said, no, well, that's what it is. And I said, okay. From purely an inquisitive point of view, I started researching on it. And then I discovered, oh, yeah, the Germans were in Namibia at some point. And so they must have influenced the Hereros. Oh, and then the next question becomes, how did they influence them? As I was trying to research how they were influenced, I discovered about the genocide. Okay, so mind you, I'd like to believe myself as a well-traveled filmmaker and a knowledgeable one. And I didn't know of a genocide that just happened next door. And to me, it was a hint of shame. But a lot of it was sadness. And it was like, we are living in a space that is very tragic. And then we don't know about our history. But more importantly, I then find out that 80% of the land, commercial land, in Namibia, it's still owned by mainly white people. And a large amount of that is German people. And then most of those German people live in Germany. They don't even live in Namibia. And so there was a cry in Namibia to say, oh, well, the people that are living here don't have the land to farm. And to me, there was enough for me to make a documentary. There was also religion, there was politics, there was current issues. And that's a nice combination of conflict that justified why I needed to make this film. But most importantly, it's because the issue is ongoing and the past is affecting the present, and we still don't talk about it. So when I made a documentary, it was an attempt to create a dialogue between Namibians themselves, amongst themselves, Namibians and the Germans, Namibians and Africans, and all of us in the world to start talking about how the past greatly influenced the current situation. That was a bit of a long talk.
But in terms of financing it, how did you finance the film? Because you told me the story, and I think it's brilliant story of how you got it.
So in a way, because films like this, some people don't see it, some people don't feel it. In fact, I'm going to tell you a very sad story. So this film, when I pitched it, people said, well, there's no story here. and this is like 7, 8 years ago. They said, there's no story here. And I couldn't believe it. But mind you, you're still thinking, oh, these are people that are experienced. These are people who've been in the business, who understand the business, and who've done some great and amazing work. And they're telling you your story is not going to fly. There is no story. I can get into the details of why, but that would take us a long time. Nonetheless, because I believed in the story, because I understood the importance of it, I continued. But it meant that I needed to subsidize the film myself. So I started cross-subsidizing it with the projects that I was doing. So, I mean, I've done at least about 14 different dramas on television here and in Kenya combined. So I would go and direct drama series and then come back and put the money into the project and keep shooting. Because you don't really have the budget, it means that you're going to shoot and stop and wait until you get the money. But remember, the events are real events, so they don't wait for you, they continue. So I kept missing important events, but I never gave up. I kept funding it until I was able to cut a promo. Once I cut the promo, I then applied again to some funder who gave me a little bit of money, and so I was able to continue. And then again I continued, and later on I cut an ensemble, and I went back to people that said there was no story, and they were surprised. And then, well, to cut the long story short, they gave me the money, and I managed to finish the film. And actually, by the way, the film it showed in Amsterdam, and for 3 months we've been negotiating the sale of it with Al Jazeera, and they've just bought the film. So, I mean, a large amount of the money we spent has come back, and a large amount of it will come back. But it was hard. I mean, I make it sound easy, that cross-subsidizing is an easy thing. No, it's not. It's very difficult.
Cool. Oh, there's another question.
Okay, from what I got with what you just said right now, I just attended a workshop recently. GFC, Gauteng Film Commission, was hosting this workshop with AAA. So basically they spoke about proof of concept. So what you just highlighted was more of like a proof of concept, because you had to invest a certain amount of money from your own pocket to, I don't know, to do a piece and go to sponsors to pitch. So what I'm gathering from you, and what I would like to relay to other creatives out here, is that if you have an idea for a film or anything like that, sometimes it helps to have like a proof of concept. So you have a script ready, but get maybe 6,000 Rand, get your, I don't know, your friends or whatever, shoot something, have a proof of concept so that you can go pitch to the likes of JNB Hive and other guys out there. I think that is what I'm gathering from what you just said right now.
That is so true. In fact, at ITFA pitching session, which is the biggest documentary film festival and the biggest pitching market festival, you are not, which is sad for some of us who sometimes don't have the money and the resources to shoot the promos. But you cannot, part of the prerequisite is that you must have a promo. If you don't have a promo, they don't even look at your project, which is my personal feeling. That's very sad, because there are some stories that are really important, and you can even see it on paper. But I think also it's you know, our bureaucrats sometimes fail to take responsibility of not being visionaries, of not seeing things. But I mean, it's a catch-22 situation, because sometimes people have a dope idea on paper and then they never follow it up.
I mean,
Hi, my name is Charles. I'm a documentary filmmaker as well. I had my documentary entered into the Talent Campus at the Durban Film Festival 3 years ago, and I'm shooting it over a period of 5 years in Swaziland. And I wanted to find out, from what you just said now, isn't it too soon to give your rights off to Al Jazeera. I want to know what kind of agreement you had with them, because you haven't done the whole independent documentary circuit in Europe yet. You've just done, was it Amsterdam that you said?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the reason it took 3 months is because we were negotiating rights, and they wanted the documentary. Eventually, we managed to retain most of our rights. In fact, all of our rights. They have a right to screen it on their stuff, but we can sell it anywhere else in the world, including South Africa, except for the UK and Qatar. But it also meant that they had to reduce the amount of money that they give you.
How long do they have the rights to the
they
project?
They have the rights to broadcast it for 3 years, and in that 3 years, they have 6 screenings.
Okay. So you're off the cinema circuit. You're straight into distribution through their broadcast platform.
No, I can still show it anywhere else.
That's what I wanted to find out. Okay, cool.
It's actually a pretty good deal. I mean, I had to develop some bravery there, because the money was also good that they offered, and but it was also the reason why we made the film is because it has to be seen, and you can't just let it be seen on Al Jazeera. Some people don't have access to Al Jazeera. So it's a conflict, I must admit. It's a conflict because you see the dollar signs, and then but you have to remember why you made the film in the first place, you know.
Oh, okay. One more question.
Okay, so you made the film for Namibia predominantly, if I may say that. I mean, your market was, as much as Africa, your primary target market, I would like to think it's people from Namibia, because they need to know and learn about their history. What was the reception? Did they see the film? What did they say about the film? Did you screen it somewhere in Namibia?
Yeah. So I didn't make the film for Namibia. Okay, I said I wanted to create a dialogue amongst the Namibians, and then the Namibians and the Germans. I made the film for the world. So it first screened in Amsterdam. And the reason it first screened in Amsterdam, it was a world premiere. It was important to start at that stage, because then you have all the exhibitors, the broadcasters, the funders. So your product gets to be seen by influential players in the industry. And so it can develop legs afterwards. And then the second screening was meant to be in Namibia. But we have constantly missed the deadlines with Namibia. I gave the right to the Namibians, the guys in the production, to give me the dates that we can screen it. So they kept missing the dates because they wanted to screen at certain important dates. But unfortunately, we kept on missing them. And then I said to them, well, I mean, it's 5 months since the film has been screened. It has to screen somewhere else. Otherwise, it's going to lose the momentum of it and the hype of it. So and then they then agreed that we screen it here, which is why it's now it's going to be showing at Rapid Lions Film Festival, which takes place from the 4th to the 12th of March. My film is showing on the 10th and the 12th of March, but there's also another screening which has been fully booked at the moment by mostly stakeholders. So the strategy to screenings is mainly so that it has more legs afterwards.
Cool. I'll show your other...
She had the questions.
Oh, okay.
You said you wanted to start a dialogue between Namibians and the Germans. What would you like to come out of the film? You want reparations? You want?
I think the most important thing, which is I'd like to be very practical about my expectations. Reparation is not going to happen now, but at least the film needs to start and mobilize the world about issues of reparation, which I think it has done. In fact, as we speak, there's going to be a case on the 14th of March in New York where the bar is going to sit and they're going to listen to the case. The Namibians have been trying to have that happening for over 10 years now. So the lawsuit is going to take place in New York, USA. So that's another film, by the way.